Hi, this is Larry Hatch, and another episode of 10 New and Modern Words for Success and Better Communication. Our first term today is under promise, and that's to deliberately minimize the expectations by setting a lower standard. And people in business and in life generally have found out it's better not to exaggerate and disappoint a person because if you say this is the best product ever that exists in this category, or this is the most beautiful thing you've ever seen, or this is the best phone ever created, or the best whatever, you're going to disappoint some people. So sometimes it's good to be a little humble and to scale back on the expectations a little bit. There's a saying in business, under promise and over deliver. So that if a person's not expecting too much, the perfect thing or the revolutionary thing, and then you do deliver the perfect or revolutionary thing, wow, that just generates sky high reactions and praise. The result is often better, at least in terms of emotion and loyalty and so on. And the second part of that is the over deliver, to provide a product or service that exceeds your expectations. So you're saying, well, it's supposed to be a little better. It's a unique thing. Let me try it out. Wow, this is amazing. And again, it has a little bit to do with humility and being careful. Sometimes people actually get in legal trouble when they say, oh, this is the fastest car in the world, or this is the highest quality such and such, or this beats such and such another brand. You can put yourself in the lawsuits. So sometimes it's good to be, like I say, a little humble, a little low key, as another word for your product or service. And then when people discover it, if they want to, overpromise and get crazy, I'll let them do that, not you, the provider. Not that you want to hide your light under a bushel basket or be too modest. You have to kind of balance that. But if you can be low key and then let your customers just praise you to death, that's a really good position to be in, and makes people billions of dollars. Upperwear now. A set of clothes which show when a person's on camera. We all know about that these days from their computer, regardless of what is worn below this zone or not. Upperwear might be, hey, I'm going to get some upperwear today, a really nice shirt. I don't normally wear pants during a conference. Whether you wear underwear or not, we don't want to know. But some people will not wear pants or lower leggings. Maybe they'll have their pajama bottoms on and a $200 shirt. That would be an example of upperwear. And today you can kind of get away with that. I realized I hadn't bought a new pair of pants in about 2 months, which for me is unusual. So I sort of did that, but it's a term that probably will go away a little bit, but it's out there. So we had talked in a previous episode about the Internet of Things. That's Internet connected objects and appliances. There's also a thing called the Internet of Behaviors, IOB, and that's a little different, but it's a similar concept. It's the merger of portable technologies data with analytics and behavioral sciences, often at a high PhD level, to predict human actions using data from phones, fitness watches, online purchases, internet searches, voting record, analysis of video emotions, facial recognition. The computers can be really good at picking out your emotions. Although, as we all know, people can learn to fake body language. If you study body language, you obviously can learn to fake it. But anyway, that's something out there. So the IOB is being developed for various purposes. Probably some of them we don't want to know about. But well, let's say in the consumer world, if a person walks into a store, they capture that person. Uh, they recognize who that person is. It's a regular customer. They know their preferences from all the data they've collected. That's another story about privacy. They know everything about the person that's public record, and maybe the thing will say, select the salesman who's best for them, or maybe tailor the screen. I talked to a retailer and he said, we have these big plasma screens in there, and we actually have somebody who tailors those screens to the demographic of the people that are in the store. And I'm like, really? So if we see there's a lot of young people in the store, or a lot of people of a certain minority, they'll change the graphic on that plasma screen advertisement. It's kind of done manually, but eventually AI computers are going to be doing this for us. But again, it's going to have more to do with behavior, consumer behavior, than just raw analytics. Our next term is a garter toss. I think we've all been to a wedding where the bride threw the bouquet and whatever woman caught it, was supposed to be the next to marry. It's an old tradition. Well, there's a male version of it where the groom takes the garter off the bride's leg, off in her thigh, and that's a little more revealing than some cultures care to see. Sometimes he'll do it clandestinely. Sometimes he'll remove it herself earlier. Depends on how modest the situation is. And he'll toss it to a group of men who maybe pretend they don't want it, or, and supposedly the man who catches the garter will be married soon. Again, I know some cultures, they don't, of a maybe more religious nature. Tossing the bouquet is one thing, but tossing a piece of underwear is, it's not a garter belt. It's a little, flexible elastic band. That's maybe a little too much for them. But anyway, it's out there. The next term is a webinar, and a webinar is not any talk or presentation on the internet, the web. It's been used that way, but it originally was a seminar, and a seminar is a type of meeting that's different. It's often an academic speech or lecture, or an informational meeting. It can be a sales pitch too, conducted over the internet using video, and it's usually more of a guest speaker or sales pitch than a traditional interactive meeting. So if you have a team of 10, 12 people, and they're all going back and forth, that's not really a webinar. A webinar is going to have somebody giving a lecture or a speech, or presenting information. It's more of a one-sided thing, like a seminar. It should be a seminar. So anything that used to be an old physical seminar, like an academic department seminar, or a white paper delivered at your corporation by an expert, or a guest speaker, that would be a webinar. So it's not any kind of meeting, especially not that interactive except for a question period. Again, it's more of a speech, and it can be a sales pitch saying, here's how you can make money in real estate, here's how you can retire. So there are some commercial aspects to it, but it generally is started out as more of an academic, informational type presentation. EOD, or end of day, is a acronym that sometimes managers use. It's typically a deadline for something to be finished or communicated fully by the conclusion of business hours today. And, depending on your business, that could be midnight, or that could be 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock or 7. It's whatever is expected. So if your boss says, hey, get me this proposal EOD, or buy EOD, they mean the end of the day, not tomorrow, or not within 24 hours. It means there's a cutoff within this physical calendar day. Um, and again, if you have a boss that leaves at 4:30, well, EOD is 4:30. Unless they work from home after that. So, just saying. Our next term is a Karen, and that's come up, in the last few years as we've had some uncomfortable racial relations, and just coming to deal with a lot of old baggage that we probably should have dealt with years ago. And Karen is a pejorative term for a white woman um, who's demanding special treatment. I saw one definition said she was middle class. I don't know. A lot of the Karens I saw identified on social media and in the news were not necessarily middle class. They were more a little. Some of them were lower. Some were certainly rich people. So I don't really think it's tied to any one particular socioeconomic group. I saw a couple of them more identified were, kind of, dare I say, redneck type women. Um, uh, you know, not very flattering sophistication, and others were, you looked like they were wearing Prada to me. So I think it spans all ranges, and they're often rude. They're insensitive, and they're insistent on getting their own way. Sometimes they don't mean it. Maybe they are just spoiled and have gotten away with it their whole life. Um, a typical Karen will say, "I want this now," or I want this. I demand this now," and they'll cut ahead in the line. Or, "I demand to speak to the manager. I'm not getting fair treatment." Blah blah blah, and they'll often do this at the expense of others, um, and certainly put up a performance that's not appreciated. There are other terms out there, like there's a Becky and a Rachel. Those are slightly different. I'm not going to try to dissect those out for now. But a Karen, a Becky, and a Rachel are all kind of terms for white women who are maybe overextending their social power and influence to be very spoiled or demanding. Um, Hooning. That's a term I was not familiar with at all. It's basically reckless driving, and it's often a crime, such as drag racing. And in some areas, that is a felony, actually, not a misdemeanor or a traffic ticket. Burnouts, donuts, drifting to gain special attention. People can do this on their own and in a parking lot, but it becomes hooning when you're showing off and you want attention. Guys do this to impress women. Guys do this to confront other guys. Challenge them to a drifting contest or drag race. And again, a lot of these things are not just traffic tickets, they are felonies and misdemeanors. So hooning is considered a negative thing. Um, the next term is a chubby chaser, and that's been around forever. It's a person who visually or is sexually attracted to obese or overweight people, preferring those body types to slim or more fit persons. And there's actually clubs and websites devoted to this sort of thing. There are skinny women, beautiful women, if you will. Not that larger women aren't beautiful, but there's skinny, fit women who are attracted only to large, fat cat, big men. They just like that body type. There's all kinds of social and psychological reasons, perhaps, for that. There are men that might be small or skinny themselves, and they only like large women. It's a physical or sexual, usually visual thing. It's really hard to say. A guy will say, "Oh, I like a Rubenesque kind of girl," that sort of thing. So there, to each its own, and I guess for some of us men who are a little bit larger, it's a good thing. There are some women who do appreciate large men. And I did some research, and they didn't call it chubby chasers, but there was a time in society when people were very poor and hungry and starving. And if you saw a man who was large, big belly, that meant he was rich. So being large as a man, and then sometimes as a woman, because of the starvation and poverty. If you were a large person, in the case of a man, a fat cat, that meant you had money and power and influence, and were successful. So there was a connection that a large person was somebody who was successful and perhaps wealthy, and that's somewhat of the origin, not of the term, but of that preference maybe for large people in terms of attraction. I can probably get a lot of comments on that because there's all different psychologies going on with the weight and body shape and body type of the person you're attracted to. There's been hundreds of studies on that. But anyway, we'll leave it at that. Please comment, give some examples, correct me where I'm wrong, or give an alternate opinion. Please be respectful, and maybe we can have a dialogue too. Thanks.